On September 15, 2005, at approximately 11:45 p.m., Boston Police Department received multiple reports of gunfire at the industrial docks in South Boston. Responding officers discovered a brutal crime scene. 5 bodies with multiple gunshot wounds scattered across the loading dock area of Mason Storage and Shipping Company. Among the deceased was Tommy Stone, age 34, a known associate of local criminal enterprises. Medical examiner Dr. Mabel Peterson determined that Stone had sustained 4 gunshot wounds, 3 to the chest and 1 execution-style shot to the head from close range. The other victims were identified as Peter Walsh, 41, Sean Murphy, 38, Derek Collins, 29, and James Jimmy Barrett, 45, all with ties to the O'Brien crime organization. Detective Robert Martinez, lead investigator on the case, noted that the dock's security systems had been professionally disabled at 10:37 p.m., suggesting premeditation. 3 dock workers, who were taking their break in a nearby parking lot, provided crucial testimony. They described seeing 4 black SUVs, 2 Ford Expeditions, and 2 Chevrolet Suburbans, commonly associated with Kevin O'Brien's organization, arriving at approximately 11:30 p.m. Michael Stone, Tommy's younger brother and a suspected participant in the shootout, fled the scene. Local residents discovered him bleeding severely in his silver BMW 540 Boy, several blocks from the crime scene. Emergency responders transported Stone to Boston Medical Center with 2 gunshot wounds to his left shoulder and 1 to his abdomen. Initial police reports indicated that Michael Stone had attempted to drive himself to safety, but lost consciousness due to blood loss. Hospital records show that Michael Stone checked himself out against medical advice on September 21, 2005, despite his doctor's strong objections. His whereabouts remained unknown until October 18, 2005, when he resurfaced in South Boston. Surveillance operations conducted by BPD's Organized Crime Unit documented Stone meeting with several local business owners in what appeared to be threatening encounters. Multiple witnesses reported Stone demanding payment for protection services previously handled by O'Brien's organization. Ballistics analysis from the dock shooting matched shells from 3 different weapon types: 9mm Glock 17S, .45 caliber Colt M1911S, and a single .357 Magnum revolver. Crime scene investigators recovered 47 spent shell casings, indicating an intense firefight. The positioning of the victims and bullet trajectory analysis suggested at least 8 shooters were involved. Though only 5 bodies were found at the scene, several witnesses reported heated arguments at local establishments, with Tommy Stone openly challenging O'Brien's authority in the area. A week before the incident, Tommy Stone had publicly confronted O'Brien's lieutenants at a local social club, declaring his intention to operate independently in South Boston. On October 23, 2005, following a 3-day operation, Michael Stone was arrested at a downtown hotel on charges of extortion and racketeering. The arrest was based on testimony from multiple bar owners in the South Boston area, who claimed Stone had demanded protection money under threats of violence. Police surveillance had documented Stone visiting 15 different establishments in the days leading up to his arrest. The investigation uncovered financial records showing Tommy Stone had recently begun interfering with O'Brien's protection rackets, offering local businesses alternative arrangements at lower rates. This direct challenge to O'Brien's revenue streams provided a clear motive for the violence. Tommy Stone's financial records indicated he had successfully convinced several prominent local businesses to switch their protection arrangements, costing O'Brien's organization an estimated $50,000 in monthly revenue. The trial of Michael Stone began on December 12, 2005, in Boston's Federal District Court. O'Brien's organization had orchestrated an elaborate scheme to ensure Stone's conviction. 3 key witnesses testified against him, each claiming Stone had extorted money from bar owners across South Boston through violent intimidation tactics. The prosecution's star witness, Johnny Sullivan, owner of Sullivan's Bar and Grill, provided detailed testimony about Stone's alleged extortion attempts. Sullivan testified that Stone had demanded $2,000 per week in protection money, threatening to burn down his establishment if he refused. 1 week after Stone's conviction, Sullivan purchased a $780,000 property in suburban Boston, raising later suspicions about the authenticity of his testimony. On January 15, 2006, Michael Stone was sentenced to 10 years at Leavenworth Federal Penitentiary. The prosecution successfully argued that Stone's actions were part of a broader RICO violation, leading to the extended sentence. Stone's court-appointed attorney, public defender Mark Thompson, filed 3 appeals, all of which were rejected. Inside Leavenworth, Stone quickly adapted to prison life. He secured a position in the prison library, where he spent extensive time studying legal documents and case law. His cellmate, former Chicago attorney David Rodriguez, serving time for tax fraud, helped Stone understand the intricacies of criminal law and began establishing connections with contacts outside prison walls. Stone's influence within the prison grew after a significant incident in the exercise yard. When 3 inmates attempted to assault Miguel Ramirez, a high-ranking member of the Los Aztecas prison gang, Stone intervened. This action earned him protection and respect from the Mexican prison organization, significantly improving his standing in the prison hierarchy. Prison records show Stone maintained exemplary behavior throughout his incarceration. He participated in educational programs and worked consistently in the library. However, investigators later discovered that Stone had been methodically building a network of contacts. Prison guard Thomas Wilson was later convicted of accepting bribes to smuggle information to Stone about activities in Boston's criminal underworld. Through Rodriguez's outside contacts, Stone managed to maintain surveillance on O'Brien's organization. He received regular updates about personnel changes, business operations, and territorial expansions. Every piece of information was carefully cataloged and memorized, as Stone couldn't risk keeping written records. During his incarceration, Stone also formed an alliance with Marcus Jefferson, a former bank robber with connections to Boston's underground gun trade. Jefferson was released in 2012 and would later become instrumental in supplying Stone with weapons after his release. Prison phone records show they spoke regularly during Jefferson's first 3 years of freedom, though their conversations appeared mundane to prison monitors. By 2014, Stone had established a comprehensive understanding of O'Brien's operation through his network of contacts. He knew the organization's hierarchy, business operations, and most importantly, the roles of everyone involved in his brother's murder. Every relationship he built, every favor he traded, and every piece of information he gathered was part of an elaborate plan for revenge that would begin immediately upon his release. Stone was released from Leavenworth on March 23, 2015, after serving 9 years and 2 months of his sentence, with time off for good behavior. He had transformed from a street-level criminal into a methodical strategist. On April 15, 2015, 3 weeks after his release from Leavenworth, Michael Stone orchestrated a brutal attack on O'Brien's underground casino operation. The assault occurred during a high-stakes poker game in the basement of an abandoned textile factory. 5 members of O'Brien's organization were killed in the shooting, with Vincent "Scar" Morelli emerging as the sole survivor. The crime scene investigation revealed a precisely executed attack. All victims were shot with .45 caliber weapons, suggesting multiple shooters. Security personnel had been neutralized with non-lethal methods, indicating Stone's team had specific targets. Morelli, sustaining 2 gunshot wounds to his legs, provided his testimony from Boston Medical Center. During a 6-hour interrogation, he revealed the full extent of O'Brien's betrayal at the docks in 2005. According to Morelli, O'Brien had arranged a meeting with the Stone brothers under the pretense of resolving their territory dispute. Tommy Stone had been promised control of 3 additional bars in exchange for reducing his protection rates. O'Brien never intended to negotiate, Morelli stated in his recorded testimony. We arrived early and positioned shooters behind the shipping containers. When the Stone brothers arrived, Tommy went to shake O'Brien's hand. That's when O'Brien drew his gun. He shot Tommy 3 times in the chest. Tommy was still breathing, looking at his brother, when O'Brien walked up and put the final bullet in his head. Morelli's account included precise details about the participants' roles that night. Anthony Russo had coordinated the ambush positions, while William Hayes had infiltrated the security office an hour earlier to disable the cameras. Frank DeSantis and Paul McCarthy served as perimeter guards, ensuring no dock workers would interfere. Robert Kelly had been tasked with eliminating Michael Stone, but failed to deliver a fatal shot. During the casino attack, Stone's encounter with Morelli proved pivotal. He knew exactly who I was, Morelli testified. He had one of his men bring me to a back office. Stone asked me about that night. Every detail. When I told him how his brother died, how Tommy looked at him in those final moments, Stone lowered his gun. He said my honesty had bought my life, but I had to tell the police everything. The testimony revealed that Michael Stone had escaped that night by diving into the water after being shot. The cold water had likely slowed his bleeding enough to reach his car. O'Brien's men had assumed he would die from his wounds, which explained why they didn't pursue him more aggressively. Morelli also disclosed O'Brien's methodology for covering up the dock shooting. Key witnesses had been paid off, evidence had been destroyed, and a network of corrupt officials had helped steer the investigation away from O'Brien's direct involvement. The subsequent effort to frame Michael Stone for extortion had been orchestrated through similar channels of influence. Ballistics analysis of the casino shooting revealed that the weapons used were linked to Marcus Jefferson, a former inmate who had served time with Stone in Leavenworth. Police surveillance footage showed Jefferson meeting with Stone 2 days before the casino attack, though Jefferson himself had a verified alibi for the night of the shooting. The investigation uncovered that Stone had used his prison time to meticulously map out O'Brien's organization. Each victim at the casino had played a specific role in the 2005 dock shooting. Their deaths were not random acts of violence but calculated steps in Stone's revenge plan. This revelation caused significant disruption within O'Brien's organization. Several lower-ranking members, fearing they might be targeted next, began approaching law enforcement with information about other criminal activities, hoping to secure protection. In the months following Morelli's testimony, Michael Stone's systematic campaign of revenge accelerated. On June 3, 2015, a massive fire destroyed O'Brien's primary drug warehouse. The facility's owner, Joseph "Joey Hands" Romano, was found dead inside. Investigation revealed Romano had been shot execution-style before the fire was set. According to Morelli's testimony, Romano had physically restrained Tommy Stone, while O'Brien fired the fatal shots in 2005. The fire resulted in an estimated $3.2 million in lost narcotics inventory. 2 weeks later, on June 18, a shootout erupted outside Morton's Steakhouse. Gregory Sullivan, O'Brien's personal bodyguard, was killed along with 2 of his security detail. Ballistics confirmed Sullivan had fired the final shot that killed Tommy Stone in 2005. Surveillance footage showed Sullivan's security team engaging multiple attackers, but Stone's group executed the operation with military precision, leaving no survivors. O'Brien's financial infrastructure suffered a devastating blow on July 2, when Thomas Wilson, the organization's chief accountant, fell to his death from his penthouse apartment. Forensic evidence indicated Wilson was alive when he went over the balcony. Investigation of Wilson's records revealed his role in paying off the hitmen involved in Tommy Stone's murder, as well as extensive money laundering operations for O'Brien's organization. By late July, O'Brien's empire was crumbling. Multiple businesses under his protection began severing ties, and several key lieutenants disappeared, presumably fleeing Boston. Police intelligence indicated that O'Brien's cocaine supply line from Colombia had been disrupted after 3 of his major distributors were eliminated in separate incidents. O'Brien attempted to negotiate a truce on August 7, arranging a meeting at Vittorio's Italian restaurant. The gesture proved fatal for 6 of his closest associates. Among the dead were Peter Falcone, O'Brien's consigliere, and Nicholas Costa, who had coordinated the dock ambush's logistics in 2005. O'Brien himself had not attended, having been delayed by a last-minute phone call, later discovered to be part of Stone's tactical planning. The restaurant massacre demonstrated Stone's growing influence. Crime scene analysis showed the attackers had detailed knowledge of the building's layout and the victims' seating arrangements. 3 of O'Brien's bodyguards were found shot in their cars before they could respond to the attack, suggesting Stone had infiltrated O'Brien's security structure. Financial records seized after the restaurant shooting exposed the rapid dissolution of O'Brien's criminal enterprise. Protection racket revenues had dropped by 60%, gambling operations were down 75%, and drug distribution networks had been severely disrupted. Multiple banking accounts linked to the organization had been frozen after anonymous tips to federal authorities. Police interrogation of captured gang members revealed that Stone had successfully created a climate of paranoia within O'Brien's ranks. Lower-level operators began refusing assignments, fearing they would be next on Stone's list. Several of O'Brien's most trusted lieutenants had secretly relocated their families outside of Boston. By September 2015, O'Brien's once dominant criminal organization had been reduced to a fraction of its former power. More than 20 key members were dead. Millions in assets had been destroyed or seized, and the organization's reputation for invincibility had been shattered. The remaining members faced a choice: flee Boston or risk becoming another casualty in Stone's campaign of vengeance. By October 2015, the mounting pressure from Stone's campaign began causing O'Brien's organization to fracture from within. After Morelli's testimony became public, O'Brien's paranoid behavior escalated, leading to a series of catastrophic decisions that further destabilized his remaining operation. Patrick "Snake" Kelly, O'Brien's second-in-command for over a decade, made a desperate attempt to secure his survival. On October 12th, Kelly arranged a clandestine meeting with Michael Stone through intermediaries at a South Boston boxing gym. During this meeting, Kelly offered detailed information about Tommy Stone's murder, including names of corrupt officials who helped cover up O'Brien's involvement and locations of recorded evidence Kelly had secretly preserved as insurance. However, O'Brien's police informant, later identified as Detective James Reeves, learned of Kelly's betrayal. Reeves, who had been on O'Brien's payroll for 15 years, immediately reported the meeting to his handler. O'Brien responded by mobilizing his remaining loyal soldiers for an assault on the abandoned Marshall paper mill, where Kelly maintained a private office. The resulting confrontation on October 15th turned into one of the bloodiest episodes in Boston's criminal history. 8 bodies were recovered from the scene: 3 of Kelly's bodyguards, 4 of O'Brien's men, and an unfortunate security guard who had been making his rounds. The forensic team recovered over 100 shell casings, indicating an extended firefight throughout the building's 4 floors. Kelly himself was not among the dead at the paper mill. 2 days later, patrol officers discovered his black Cadillac Escalade parked behind a vacant strip mall. Kelly's body was found in the trunk, bearing signs of extensive torture. The medical examiner's report documented that his tongue had been cut out while he was still alive, before being executed with a single shot to the back of the head. This signature execution style was recognized as O'Brien's personal message to other potential informants. The brutality of Kelly's murder sparked widespread panic within O'Brien's diminishing organization. 3 high-ranking members disappeared within 48 hours of Kelly's body being discovered. Police surveillance documented an exodus of lower-ranking criminals from Boston, many abandoning profitable territories they had controlled for years. Internal police memos from this period reveal a significant shift in law enforcement's understanding of the conflict. What had initially been classified as a gang war was now recognized as a systematic vendetta. Detective files noted that Stone's targets were not random. Each victim had a direct connection to the events at the dock in 2005. The revelation of Detective Reeves' corruption led to an internal affairs investigation that uncovered a network of compromised officers within the department. 4 officers were suspended, and 2 senior detectives were forced into early retirement. This cleanup operation further weakened O'Brien's ability to gather intelligence or influence police operations. By the end of October, the violence had attracted federal attention. FBI analysts noted that Stone's campaign had effectively dismantled O'Brien's organization, without creating a power vacuum typical of gang wars. There were no territorial expansions, no new criminal enterprises emerging, only the methodical elimination of everyone connected to Tommy Stone's murder. On January 12, 2016, Kevin O'Brien made his final stand. With his empire in ruins and most of his organization either dead or fled, he gathered his 8 remaining loyal soldiers for one last mission. Through a corrupt dock worker, they had tracked Michael Stone to an abandoned warehouse in the industrial district. At 11:27 p.m., O'Brien's men initiated their assault on the 4-story building from both the north and south entrances. The first casualties occurred immediately. 3 of O'Brien's men died when their breach of the main entrance triggered Stone's improvised explosive devices. The blast was heard across several blocks, prompting multiple calls to emergency services. Police response units arrived within minutes, establishing a perimeter around the warehouse. Given the ongoing gunfire and knowledge of the participants' identities, Commanding Officer Lieutenant Thomas Wilson made the tactical decision to contain, rather than enter. SWAT teams took up position but held their distance as the firefight continued inside. The gun battle lasted approximately 27 minutes. Witnesses reported hearing multiple exchanges of gunfire across different floors of the building. Crime scene investigators later recovered over 70 shell casings of various calibers, indicating an intense close-quarters battle throughout the structure. When SWAT teams finally entered at 12:45 a.m., they discovered a trail of bodies that told the story of Stone's final stand. 3 of O'Brien's men lay dead near the demolished main entrance, their bodies showing both explosive and gunshot trauma. 2 more bodies were found in the stairwell between the second and third floors. Both had been shot multiple times at close range. The scene on the 4th floor revealed the final confrontation. Kevin O'Brien's body was found with a severed carotid artery, his hand still clutching a .45 caliber pistol with 3 spent rounds. 3 meters away lay Michael Stone, who had sustained 3 gunshot wounds to the chest. A bloodied combat knife was found near his right hand. The position of the bodies and blood spatter patterns indicated a brutal close-quarters fight. Forensic analysis reconstructed the sequence of events. After eliminating O'Brien's men on the lower floors, Stone had engaged in a gunfight with O'Brien on the 4th floor. Both men had expended their ammunition and resorted to hand-to-hand combat. O'Brien managed to shoot Stone 3 times, but Stone, despite his wounds, was able to get close enough to use his knife. In Stone's jacket pocket, investigators found 2 items: a weathered photograph showing him and his brother Tommy at a baseball game, dated 2004, and a folded newspaper clipping about the doc shooting from 2005. The items were stained with blood, having been carried by Stone throughout his campaign of revenge. The building itself showed signs of extensive preparation. Besides the explosives at the main entrance, Stone had blocked several access points and created choke points on each floor. Security cameras had been strategically placed to monitor approaches to the building, with feeds running to a control room on the 2nd floor. This level of preparation suggested Stone had selected this location specifically for a final confrontation,